Hey guys, it's Richie and we are back. This week's upload is going to be a bit of a mismatch. I've had a real hard time this past week with my old Vibroverb. Basically, after getting it running really sweet, it started cutting out, in a nutshell. Volume going in and out. And it drove me crazy to the point where it was unplayable. So luckily, I put a post up and a couple of people have reached out to me. Some really good dudes have reached out to me with some solid information. You got Mark Mahaski over at Honeybee Amps. A chap called Mike Camps who's been really solid on every fine detail with me. And Nick from the Riff. Yep, so there's been some great help coming from some knowledgeable dudes, you know. Otherwise, I think I would have been stuck and waiting, weirdly, 3 weeks for my amp to be looked at because every amp tech around here is on holiday at the same time. Really bizarre. Can't explain it. Don't know why. Don't know. Maybe some amp summit. I don't know. God knows. Anyway, so what this video is going to be, there's going to be the Trem disconnect in it, but it's also going to run you through a couple of things that's happened. I might get inside the amp and show you bits. I've collected video through the week of what's been going on. And I'm going to try and stitch it all together and kind of show you. The thing is with these old amps is they do need maintenance. Things do wear down and you need to monitor them, you know. When they're running, there's in my opinion, nothing that comes too close to how an old Blackface will sound. And the tone it delivers is just second to none, in my opinion. But yeah, with that comes the burden of maintenance. So in a nutshell, pulling tubes is all I had done, and swapping tubes around, then the fault had come, right? So we went through vigorous tests, with Mac, via FaceTime and some messages, measuring the output transformer, measuring the anode voltage, lots of interesting stuff, which I've learned loads. For me, it's been great because I've learned a great deal about the amp over the past week. Which I probably would never have got to learn. So it's been good for me in one way, but bad for me in the other because I haven't been able to play. So yeah, I've measured the anode voltage. We checked that. We checked the output transformer, and that was the big worry for me. If that had gone, I think I would have been really gutted because you know, the output transformer in these old amps is a lot of where the juice comes from, obviously. So I was very thankful that it wasn't that. So I ran through loads of things with Mark and then ran through things with Mike. Mike was sending me really good information down, and you know, I was trying to do all this stuff kind of with Mike kind of via the internet without a FaceTime, so it was a little bit difficult, but I think I managed to decipher some of the stuff, and yeah, then I found out what the problem was by basically going back through what I had done in terms of forgetting all the stuff I hadn't touched and the stuff that I had touched. I did notice there was a ground wire loose on the output transformer pin. So before I'd spoken to anyone, I'd soldered that back, and it turns out it was the pin next to that where the grounding issue was, and the pin was loose. So just by tapping that actual pin, I could recreate the sound. So then obviously that's where the problem was. So I pushed the pin down, and the problem's gone. I will need to crimp it back in position or possibly get a new socket. Ironically, the problem is in the socket. Is the new socket the only thing that's been touched in the amp, and that's where the problem is. So just shows you that this old stuff was built to last, and the newer component that's gone in has failed. So yeah, I pushed it in. It's working. I've disconnected the tremolo. That's working. My thoughts on that? Not a lot, to be honest with you, if I'm being completely honest. I read a lot about it, but it didn't really hit me in the gut wow. It just maybe felt a bit louder, maybe a bit more stout. Not that much, if I'm honest. That's just my opinion, of course. So I'm going to show you that, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to play through some tones, and you guys can make your mind up. I have also changed the power tubes to soften it up a little bit, to break up a bit earlier, and I've rebiased the tubes. Okay, so we're going to get into the tones, guys, and I hope you like this video. I'm sorry about the talking on this, but I just want to explain to you where I've been with the uploads. I've got some exciting ideas coming up. I've got a big 2x12 cabinet, and speaking to Mike, he's been telling me a few different ways we can run it, so that might be worth looking at. It could be pretty cool to do a video with the Vibroverb with its 150 and then playing it through a 2x12 cabinet, and then we could look at how much difference actually speakers and cabinets make. That cabinet I've got upstairs is a custom cabinet. It's got an open back and a closed back, so it's kind of a unique sound. So we could run through that and see how much difference a 15 inch is going to make to 2x12. See if we can pick a favorite. We could run it as a slave. There's loads of things we can do with that. So yeah, got lots of exciting stuff coming up. Also an artist series coming up, which is getting really close now. I'm very excited for that. Some really great players are involved with this. This is going to be good. And I'm trying to push the subscriber count up, guys. I know I've said this before, but I really want to push it up. By pushing it up, basically the numbers get more for me, which allows me to do more of this, which is what I want to do. I'm working this in between my job and the kids, and you know, it takes a lot of time. I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate every single one of you being here. You know, it's true force from the heart. I'm Richie. This is Fret Junkies. Thanks for tuning in. Peace. Okay, guys. So in a strange turn of events, I've fixed the problem with a lot of help from some good people. And the problem was here in the tube socket there was an issue with the grounding, so it was like arcing basically. So I put some new power tubes in, I've rebiased them, and now we're just going to disconnect the tremolo just because I've got it open. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here onto the yellow wire, the cloth wire, and we're going to take it off basically. And that's kind of what you want to do. You want to take it off and tape it up. That divorces the tremolo out of the circuit. So if you just pull the tube out, it's not going to take it out of the circuit. So you actually want to physically disconnect the tremolo. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here and get my yellow cable. And that's the tremolo disconnect done. So all we need to do now is make sure that that's taped up and we've successfully disconnected the tremolo. Okay, so I've just opened it back up and I'm just running over a few things again with Mark. So we're going to check the actual voltage. This is things that Mark and Mike have been sending me. I've done a quick one with Nick the other day that got me out of a pickle. But right now we're trying to look at it properly and get everything kind of measured up and calculated correctly. So I did have the GZ34 in here, but on Mike's recommendation and Mark's, I've changed it to the 5U4, which should bring the plate voltage down because the plate voltage was exceptionally high. And now by changing over that rectifier tube, we've managed to bring it down to 450, 460 is kind of fluctuating. 450. So we're gonna go to some calculations now with Mark and Mike and work out what I need to bias these power tubes at. Okay, guys. So given from Mark in the background has done his calculations and he's given me some numbers to work to. So now I'm going to take a reading and see how close we are. I've done some little work in the background to cut out the boring bits, but I'm just going to take a measurement now and okay. So that's the one power tube. Okay, and we're going to move on to the other power tube now. A bit more difficult to get into. And that's very close. So there's some good readings right now. Them readings based on what I've Mark's worked out in the background. I'm very close, so I'm real happy with that. And yeah, that's a great one. So what I'll show you now is I'll quickly show you where I was measuring. Okay, so one of my probes was in this point here, between the red and black, okay, and the other probe was on pin 3 terminal. So we follow the black, excuse me, the black and brown wires here, and we follow to where they go. So the brown one went to pin 3 down there. So again, I took a measurement from that with one of my probes on that, and one of my probes there, and then I followed the brown wire round to there, and I took a measurement from there to there, and they were the readings that you've just seen, and it's coming up very healthily from what I've been told. So I'm going to plug in now. I'm going to warm up a bit, and I'm going to share with you how it sounds. Okay, as I said, the Trem disconnect has happened. I've rebiased some power tubes. I've dropped the 5U4 in there. That's an RCA 5U4 because it brings down the plate voltage, and these are some 58. These are some 6L6 small bottle, and I've got some other nice bits going on there. Okay, let's get into the tones.